Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. For those of you who do not know, welcome to my podcast. For those of you who are new, my podcast is usually a conversation with someone about what they do and how they got to that point in life. And I talk to all different types of people. And obviously with the coronavirus, I have not been able to conduct a typical normal podcast schedule as usual. We're talking to guests and bringing guests into my home and talking with them about their lives. It makes me upset that I can't do that because I yearn for that. I really enjoy having conversations with people, and not that I don't like talking to my wife. Me and my wife have been locked in our house for months, it seems, might as well be years. But, I like talking to people that have different lives about what they do and how they think and what they think about. And, it's interesting because, it's just every day is monotonous in our life. Usually, I guess now is a little bit kind of bizarre, but, normally our lives move so casually and so typically that we kind of just forget about it sometimes, I would say. We get stuck in our 9-to-5 life, and we get stuck in what we do and kind of, don't really think about the other things in life. And that's why I wanted to do the podcast in the beginning is, I was just doing my typical job, and, there was other things in life that I was interested in and that I wanted to learn about. And this was a good way for me to do that. And I love that. And I can't wait to get back to that. And hopefully soon enough, I can get some guests in here, some people that I trust. Some people that ain't out there, getting buck wild, spinning the wheel at Mario's. Some level-headed people that have been adhering to most of the guidelines. We're still out here living this crazy life, and for a while there, I haven't been able to, I haven't been able to get out. The only place I've been going is the grocery store. Very rarely I'll pop in to grab a coffee at Black Forge, and they have a good system about it. You go in there, there's not really any point of contact. I guess if you use cash, there will be, but I use a card. I order my drink, toss it right in there, slap the card in the card reader, and she gives me my drink, and I usually go back to my car and wipe it off. And I feel I feel that I'm doing my part to keep the cleanliness about it. Sometimes I just need it. Sometimes I fucking need a good cup of coffee. And, I make good coffee at home, but, a month, 2 months, it's like sometimes I just want a nice shot of espresso. Like, come on, I need it. But coffee, I don't know. I'm a coffee head, if you want to call it that. I appreciate coffee. I like coffee. I'm kind of picky about my coffee. I'm not usually someone that is buying the drinks in the stores, but Turner Dairy Farms, a proud sponsor of the podcast, has just released a brand new bottled cold brew coffee. It's called Cold Brew Haha, and it is made with, just delicious Turner's ingredients. So I haven't been able to get out of the house, okay? And I felt bad that I wasn't able to try, the coffee since I was given it way back when. I got to try a little, Dixie cup full of each flavor couple months back, and I didn't get the full experience. I didn't get a full bottle. I wanted a full rip of it. And I was privileged enough to be dropped off a couple cases of their flavor. There's vanilla, just sweet enough, and mocha. And I got them in my fridge now, and I was able to get the full experience. I shake one of them bastards up, rip a top off, and I just chugged that right down. And it was great. I'm someone that drinks black coffee. So I'm not normally someone who, gravitates towards the flavored, but it was pretty damn good, I have to admit. And I was really, really happy with the product that they put out because, if it ain't good, I don't want to say it ain't. I don't want to say it's good, but it was damn good. I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the Just Sweet Enough. I've had that one. I have not had the mocha or the vanilla yet, but the Just Sweet Enough so far, I'll drink that all damn day. And, they're out here. I mean, it's so sick that they're putting out these products that are like kind of like different, like they're 90 year. This is their 90th year, their 90th year. They could just be content with their regular dairy products because it's an established name. But I mean, it's so cool to see a brand that has some age behind it, like kind of be innovative and want to kind of get in some different lanes and explore their options. Like I just told you guys about the Bantha milk that they released for May 4th. And I mean, like, that's such a cool thing to do as a company. Like so like unique and it's like it's a breath of fresh air, you know what I mean? And this coffee is really, really great. So check any store that carries Turner products. And I believe he said that Kogo's is one of the main carriers right now who have it. But any store that you go to that has Turner products, tell them you want it. Walk in there, tell them you want the cold brew coffee, and they have 3 flavors of it: vanilla, Just Sweet Enough, and mocha. And tell them you want to get it ordered in. We'll make it happen. But definitely check them out. Follow Turner's PGH on Instagram to keep up with them, and follow Cold Brew on Instagram to keep tabs on all the new stuff that they're doing. And next month they will be doing their brand new limited edition flavored milk, and this one is peanut butter cup. Come on now, peanut butter cup milk. The Bantha milk was the birthday cake flavored milk, and that was insane tasting. It tasted insane. But peanut butter cup, I mean, I can't wait. I just can't wait to try it. I just like, I feel like they never cease to amaze me. A peanut butter cup milk, I feel, would be so delicious because you got the chocolate and the peanut butter. But keep an eye out for it. We're trying to make things happen during this quarantine, and I'm excited to be working with Turner's. So next thing I wanted to bring up, there was a couple of new things that I wanted to talk about. I binged an entire Netflix series in 2 days. I felt that it was absolutely worth bringing up. Dead to Me. So Dead to Me is absolutely worth watching. It's on Netflix. It is with Christina Applegate, who is fantastic, and Linda Cardellini. Yeah, Cardellini, I think that's her name. And James Marsden. But, I mean, listen, we're out here. We're all locked to our home. What else can you do? If you're not baking bread like the rest of the world, like I am, you're watching TV. I'm tired of watching shit. I really am. All I do is I'll bake some bread. I'll watch some TV. I'll, watch some more TV. And, it's like, what else are we doing? We have to watch things. So that's why I feel that, it's my duty to give people good suggestions because I know people doing the same things that I'm doing. But Dead to Me was super, super good. Show on Netflix, 2 seasons. The second one just came out, and absolutely worth watching. Another thing I wanted to talk about was Streets on Carson is continuing to do the Sunday meals. So the Sunday meals that they've been doing are the Sunday family dinner every week. Chef Matt will come up with a different meal. You will be able to order it ahead of time, $10 a plate, $5 for the dessert. This week they are doing a Italian sort of crepe that's stuffed with ricotta cheese, I believe. I'm sorry if that's not right, but you already know I ordered that. I've been hitting it up every Sunday for the past however many weeks they've been doing it, and I've been pumped about it. They've been doing some really, really delicious food, and I mean, what's better to not cook on a Sunday? You get a family style meal without cooking, and I'm all for it. I'm here for it all. So this week, I wanted to talk about, I'll just get right into it, I guess, because it was overwhelming for me. I wanted to do Flat Earth. Someone has suggested to me before to talk about Flat Earth, and, I'll be honest. In the beginning, I didn't want to pay it no mind. I was not any sort of interested in Flat Earth. I just thought it was ridiculous. I thought that the idea of the Earth being flat was just ridiculous. I didn't even feel that it was worth looking into. That was my stance on it in the beginning. But I figured, what the hell? Why not look into it, right? So that's exactly what I did. And I'll be honest, it's pretty interesting. I am not convinced, and I'm sure. I think that this will be maybe a 2-part episode. I'm trying to work on talking to a flat earther, because there's a lot of things that are brought up in the flat earth world that it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it, because it all boils down to me being too dumb. If you think about arguments, people use, science to back up things. I'm kind of dumb, honestly. And it's hard for me to, listen to these arguments of people trying to prove other things wrong, especially whenever it comes to something as deep as if the earth is flat, because I just don't know the answer. I don't know which answer is right. I'm not smart enough to know any of the math around it. I'm not smart enough to know a lot of the technology around it, or not technology. Come on now. Look at that. I'm an idiot. But terminology around it. And, I start to Google. So the first, I was like, how am I going to approach this that isn't going to be biased towards me thinking these people are idiots? So, I just kind of went into it with an open mind, and I started to, first I went on Facebook and I said, is there anyone who knows a legit flat earther, like someone who believes in it wholeheartedly? And Yoga Ralph comes through as usual, puts me in contact with someone who is a legit flat earther. And I was like, how legit could this person be? Could this person be someone that's just watch one YouTube video and just believes it because they might smoke too much weed or something like that? But nope, this person is educated. He's super intelligent. The way that he's talking about it, my first experience is that he's legit, and he went to school and everything like that. And I have every reason to believe that he is a great representation of a flat earther. So I start talking to him. Yoga Ralph tagged him, and I asked him a question on Facebook. I said, you're completely convinced that the earth is flat? And he just said, yep. And I said, I'm going to slide in your DMs. And that's exactly what I did. And me and him were talking back and forth for a while. And from the jump, the dude goes deep and has references, resources to back things up in his explanations. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to be able to get somewhere with this, because I feel like researching flat earth is a big, that's a big pool to dive into. And you don't know, because there's some people that are fucking nuts, and there's some people that are more logical about it. per se. And I wanted to find the right person to be able to talk to that isn't going to try to force shit down my throat. You know what I mean? I wanted to just ask some questions because I'll be honest, I never really paid any attention to anything about the flat earth. I never thought about it really. I just was like, that's stupid. There's no way the earth could be flat because, I mean, we're taught it from the beginning. You know, there's a solar system, we're a globe, you know, everything you see, we have globes in every classroom, and you're just like, it's a globe. You know, you don't even pay it no mind. It's like, it's just, there's no reason to even second guess it. So for the sake of journalism and me being a good journalist, you know, or at least trying to be, I'm trying to look into things in a certain way. So I wanted to go to someone who fully believes it so I could ask them what makes them, like, what do they think and why they believe it so wholeheartedly. And, you know, I was talking to him and he was, so I told him the main things that I looked up whenever I first started to research flat Earth is that the Earth is basically, I envision it as a game board, you know, like just a flat area, and it's a round area and it's a round shape, and around this shape is an ice wall that is surrounding the edge. So imagine a plate, you know, imagine a flat plate, and in the center of this plate is all water. And in the water is the land masses that make up, you know, the places that we all live. And around this big circle disc that's in the sky, I guess, is a big ass ice wall that is holding in all the water in the world. And I guess that's Antarctica to them. And I don't know. Whenever I hear that in the beginning, I'm like, come on now. You know? I'm like, come on. How is it? Come on. That's bullshit. You know? And I start to, and immediately I'm starting to be like, you know, what am I getting myself into? Do I want to even dive into this more? So what the hell? What else am I doing here? Right? I could just completely go into it and, you know, try to come in. I don't know. It was hard for me to even get past the first thing that I seen was an ice wall that is 200 foot tall, that is holding in all the water in the world. I mean, what? Like, imagine, I mean, I just don't see how that's even possible in the beginning. But they're, you know, for every flat earther, they have all these explanations for everything. And I'm watching all these videos, and I'm watching all these YouTube videos of people that believe in it. And it's just so hard for me because obviously you watch videos, and if you type in a video that says, why is the flat earth real, or facts about flat earth, or something pro flat earth, you're going to get videos of all sorts of evidence, air quotes, evidence, I'm making air quotes, all sorts of evidence on why the flat earth theory is something that is real. But, you know, again, I'm too dumb to know. You know, I'm too dumb to know what they're saying. They could be lying to me, and I wouldn't know. But if you look on YouTube again at the reasons the flat earth theory isn't legitimate, there's all these other reasons that they're wrong. And they're all reasons that I don't know if are correct or not. But I'm going to, you know, I wanted to kind of find a way to communicate this, to communicate my research and my findings, because it's a weird topic to discuss, because the people that believe in it wholeheartedly. The people don't believe in it wholeheartedly. It's like religion. It's like arguing religion. And, you know, there's references from flat earthers that say that religion, that it's based off of like some religious things, like that in the Bible they talk about the earth being flat, but there's also some topics of people, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's so much to try to communicate at one time. And that's why, like, I want to have someone who is a flat earther on for me to ask them questions to explain things, because it's hard to ignore. I mean, it's hard to like try to explain things in such a short time from an idiot like myself. But so me looking up things, why I wanted to see why reasons that like blatant reasons that flat earthers believe that the world is flat. And the first thing that I come up with is the compensation for the curvature of the globe. Okay, so basically, the globe is a big sphere, and the circumference of this big sphere is 25,000 miles. So they use some crude form of mathematics to compensate for the curvature of the Earth over a distance of miles. Okay, so if you can grasp what I'm saying, let's say I'm standing on the ground and I'm looking somewhere out 100 miles. You know, realistically, if the Earth was a sphere and it had some curvature to it, where I'm looking 100 miles from where I'm looking should be lower, and there should be no way I could see that. Is that correct? That seems correct to me. That sounds correct to me. And it starts to make me think, you know, like, yeah, that sounds legit. You know, you shouldn't be able to see it over that long of a distance, you know, to compensate for this curve. But, you know, again, I'm an idiot. I have no idea. Should you not be able to see it? I mean, is that a relative thought? You know, like, have I ever seen anything that's been 60 miles away? I don't think that I have. Like, I don't know, like, the way that my brain processes that is, am I able to see something? Like, let's say I'm standing on a roof of a building down in Pittsburgh, whatever the tallest building is, and I look out in any direction. What's the furthest you're able to see? You know, I don't know. And I don't know the mathematics and the thought behind that to be able to, you know, kind of, I don't know, come up with a concrete, is that correct or not? You know, it all comes down to me being too dumb, but, you know, that makes some sense in, you know, whenever I start to think about it. So I start to look into that a little bit more. And the reason that people think that the Earth is flat is because, you know, there's a constant horizon. Like, there's a constant horizon that is not curved, that no matter where you are is just flat. Everything just seems flat. You know, no one could see this curvature of the globe. And this is like one of the biggest things that people bring up whenever they say that the Earth is flat, is that our horizon is all flat. If we're up in a plane, it's all flat. You know, if we're up, 40,000 feet in the air, it's all flat. People bring up that dude who jumped out of a weather type balloon for Red Bull. I can't remember his name. Not Werner Herzog, but I think that's a rocket guy. But Felix, maybe his name was Felix. Felix Baumgartner, I think it was. But the dude went up in the air and jumped off this, like, it was like a fucking, I don't know if it was a rocket. I don't know what the hell it was. But this dude jumped off, but there was camera footage of this entire thing. So there's a conflict about the footage of this space exploration. I don't know what you would call this thing. This dude floated up into the air and just jumped off with a parachute. But this footage shows a big curvature of the Earth, what looks like a curvature of the Earth. So as you're looking at this curvature of the Earth, you're like, okay, yeah, it's curved. But, you know, I'm playing devil's advocate and I'm looking at what flat earthers are saying about it. They're saying, oh, that's a fisheye lens. You know, that's why everything looks curved. Any picture you see looks curved because they're using wide-angled lenses. And I'm like, all right, that kind of sounds legit too, because if you look at a wide-angled lens, you know, it does add some curvature to the image. And I'm like, all right, that kind of sounds right, okay. But there's an inside image of the camera of this Felix Baumgartner where he opens the door to jump out of this capsule to, you know, do this jump. And as soon as he opens the door, there's a completely flat horizontal horizon. And this is part of an argument for pro flat earthers. They think that, that's an actual camera footage with no wide angle, which shows it to be flat across. And I'm like, is it? Like, I don't know. I can't, it's hard for me to go by any of these things as concrete evidence, because you're like, what the fuck? Like, that could be just something different. Also, now to play devil's advocate on the other side, we don't know any of the pictures that NASA gives us are actual photos. Supposedly, I didn't all my information that I'm giving you right now is from these videos that I'm seeing, and they seem to be credible from each side, so I figure I could use them. But the pro flat earthers seem to believe that NASA is completely fake. They think that NASA is bullshit. They think that NASA has been feeding us falsified photographs and falsified information on space traveling. They think the moon landing is fake. And you're like, all right, now it's getting a little crazy, because one, I believe in photoshopped images. I mean, you could look at any movie we watch right now. A whole movie is done in front of a green screen. You would never know. The argument of photographic evidence is bullshit nowadays, because anything could be enhanced, anything could be altered, anything could be, fucked with Photoshop. There's people that could create images of hot women out of pictures of men just by altering, super like detailed images. My point is that any photographic evidence is bullshit to me. None of that is concrete enough for me to sway me to one side. So that argument is out of the way. So the next one, the next big tell for me to think about this is like, okay, so the argument of all these photographs are that they're all fake. Okay, so that means that NASA is lying to us in some huge capacity. And that means that going downstream, everything is a lie. And that right there is where I cannot get past. I cannot get past the fact that NASA and all the science, physics, gravity. I mean, they believe gravity is fake. Pro flat earthers believe that gravity is just made up, which is, I'm also too stupid to understand that it's not. But since I've been taught my entire life one way, I automatically think that to think if gravity is fake, I think that that's kind of a dumb statement. But also, I have no idea, because I am not a scientist. But the thought of NASA and all these space organizations in the world lying to our faces about the Earth being a globe and like the moon landings and all this stuff is just exhausting to think about. I feel like that that would be the biggest cover up in the entire world is if the Earth was actually flat. Okay, entertain me. Say the Earth is flat. I mean, if that's true, that's the biggest cover up in the world. But, this is a whole labyrinth of just what ifs and what ofs. And, it's basically a dick measuring contest between people that are pro flat earth and pro globe. And it's interesting because, it's all subjective to what the listener subscribes to, because it's just hard for me to think that NASA is fake, and it's hard for me to think that the moon landing was fake, but also I have no idea. It's hard for me to even have an opinion about it, because it just doesn't seem plausible to think that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of education and history and science are just not right. It just doesn't. It's hard for my brain to compute that. But I mean, who am I to say that these people are wrong? I don't know. But I was thinking about it, and someone that I was talking to, who was also briefly a flat Earth advocate, told me that basically the Earth being globular, in the shape of a globe, is kind of, the main question is why? Why would they do this? Like, again, let's say the Earth is flat. What would the reasoning be in the beginning to just lie about it and saying it's a globe? Like, what is the reasoning behind it? I don't understand that. And maybe there's an explanation on why flat earthers even believe that, but like, why would someone say, why would someone think that the Earth is flat, firmly believe that the Earth is flat? Why would someone just want to change that if it was? What purpose does that serve? And, trying to think about that and talking to people who were briefly flat Earth advocates, it's pretty interesting because, this is what someone said to me that kind of made me think, because like I said, I was like, that's just, it seems exhausting for someone to have to keep up the thought of NASA and keep up the thought of the Earth being a globe whenever it wasn't. And he said it's basically to keep God out of our lives. And I was like, huh. And he said, if the Earth is a globe, that means everything in science is true, and we're just a speck of dust floating along space and have no purpose, so we're easy to manipulate and control. And if the Earth was flat, then that would mean that there was a creator, i.e. God. And if you knew God was real, certain people would live lives way different. And it's interesting to think about that, because like, whether you subscribe to religion or not, just the idea of that is interesting to me, because, what other reasoning would there be to say that the Earth is a globe? And it makes me so it's so hard for me to get past that. And I know that this podcast might be like a little bit disorganized and a little bit like, random, but like, it's hard for me to think about that. And that could be just my brain being programmed to be one way, but like, that's the biggest question to me. Why would they do this? Like, what would the benefit be? And if I could talk to a flat earther, I would ask, what that would be. What would the benefit be? And then I would also want to know, what benefits would like how does science sway if the world would be flat? You know what I mean? Let's say it would be flat. What does science say about then? And then I start to, in the research of the people that are against the Earth, against, what's the right terminology? People that are not flat earthers. They're like, okay, so if you look at the flat Earth map that they have, that the flat Earth maps that people subscribe to, I don't know, there's 100 of them. That's another reason that this is so hard for me to research, because everything on the internet is fucking different, and you just don't know what's real and what's not, and it's hard for me to like go over all this stuff, because I've only researched this shit for a couple days, but it is interesting. But the map that a flat earther uses supposedly is disproved because of like actual like lengths of things. Like if you think of like planes flying certain ways, like if you line up the times and like, the length of flights and everything like that, supposedly it's disproved, but there you go. I'm too much of an idiot to understand the science of it. But the whole thought of lunar eclipses is interesting to me about this whole thing, because supposedly, with the map that a flat earther would use, you wouldn't be able to I don't know. See, it's hard for me to even relay what people said, but, the thought of being able to predict when a lunar eclipse was enough to prove that the science behind a globe, that science that government science people that are so-called in the conspiracy use to predict when lunar eclipses would be, supposedly that's enough to prove that a globe is what the world is. But again, I could be wrong. I'm sorry, but I knew that this was going to be hard to get into from the beginning, but reading about this stuff is kind of deep because it's like, it's so subjective to what people say, like why are seasons a thing? And, flat earthers seem to think that, the sun moves between, different areas, but, there's so many videos that say that's bullshit. And it's like, what am I supposed to believe? What am I supposed to believe about that? Is I don't know. It's interesting. It's super. Where am I going with it? I mean, I feel that no matter what, you're going to find just as much information on the Earth being flat as you will the Earth being not flat, because the internet now is a wasteland of, just random things. Obviously there is great resources through the internet, but there's also so much trash out there it's a double-edged sword. If you think about it, it is absolutely a double-edged sword because people could put whatever they want on the internet, and it's just if people believe it or not. And it's super interesting to think about, it's super interesting to think about that at a different level. Like we're all taught to think that the Earth is a globe, but, just for the fun of it, just for the fun of thinking about that, it's interesting. But I don't know. It all comes back to me being, how could all of it be a lie? Why would it be a lie? And I want to know. And that's why I'm going to keep trying to, keep trying to find someone to talk to on the podcast. Hopefully, maybe I can get it next week. Because if I can line something up next week with a flat earther where I could kind of just ask them questions and hear their answers from a certain way to where I could, ask certain parts deeper, in depth, rather than just, watching a bunch of random videos on YouTube of people saying this and discounting that and doing this and doing that. And, another reason to think about this is like, it's just like the people that told me their stories about aliens. What benefit do they have to say that they have an alien story? What benefit do you have to say that you're a flat earther? People are thinking you're a lunatic. People, this is a perfect example. If you're going into an office at work, like some archaic time that we all experienced many months ago, going into a workplace, and you were at a water cooler, how they say water cooler talk, and someone was like, what did you do last night? And they were like, oh, I was watching a lot of videos on flat earth. And then they say, oh, do you believe that the earth is flat? And you say yes. Immediately, or not saying immediately, but I'd say, 98% of the time, maybe 99% of the time, that person is going to think that you're nuts. I mean, that's just a guess. That's a crude guess. Those numbers are not accurate, obviously, but that's what I would guess. Like I said before, reading into all this stuff, I wouldn't even have paid any attention to being a flat earther. But now it is interesting. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained whenever he goes, gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. It's like flat earthers, they never had my curiosity, but now they have my curiosity a little bit. I will absolutely, read some more about it, but there's just too much information. And I'm going to work on a part 2 of this episode for sure, because I want to get deeper into it. There's a little bit more to look into, and I want to try to link up with someone to interview them and kind of have a better conversation about this. It's a little bit more that's not just me kind of pissing in the wind, reaching for certain things. But I feel that this week was a good explanation of what people think, what both parties think. There's obviously more things to each side, but, next week I'm hoping to have someone to interview to talk about Flat Earth a little bit more in depth. But before I go, I do strongly urge you to think about not Flat Earth. I'm not asking you to think about Flat Earth, but it's interesting to think about things differently. My thought is, there's a lot of people. I don't know a number, but if you have, let's say you have all the people you graduated with, okay? Think with me about this. Every person that you graduated with, after they graduate high school and after they graduate college, if they do, and go on to a job, how many of them do you think even care about thinking of anything else? You know what I mean? It's just like, what else do we have to do? There's nothing wrong with thinking of things a different way. People might think you're a lunatic, whether you think you could talk to ghosts or whatever, or mediums, or, cult leaders or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with learning about new things and thinking of things in a different way. And Flat Earth might not be your cup of tea. You might think people are fucking lunatics, but, that's your right. But it's also other people's right to believe that it is something. And I just try to get to the bottom of it. I'm not calling these people idiots, but, I might not believe in it, but, it's interesting. The moral of that is to get out there and just read about some shit. I like reading about things. I like learning about things. If anyone has any cool topics, something different, even send it over my way. DM me at I'll Call You Right Back on Instagram. Send me some cool shit to read about. I'm going to keep doing these episodes until I can get people back in here to interview. But, I want to keep reading about cool shit. There's cool shit going on in the world. There's cool shit that went on, in the past, and I want to read about it. If you like the podcast, please do me a favor and hop on over and subscribe to the podcast. You'll just stay up to date on what it is, and you will help me out. If you could leave a rate and review, that helps me out even more. That would be a huge deal for me. I would appreciate it. I'm up to like 143. I would love to work my way up to 200 reviews. So if you have a second, please just take a second and do that. Another thing, how about Joe Rogan? I mean, obviously, if you're listening to podcasts, you know about podcasts. I'm sure you know about Joe Rogan. But how about Joe Rogan switching from YouTube to strictly being on Spotify? Huh? It's rumored to be a $100 million deal or around that. That is fucking huge. If you think about that, that is huge. That is a big deal. Podcasts, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm interested to see how many people that might have Apple Podcasts are going to pay to subscribe to Spotify to listen to him, but I think it's going to be a lot. People almost think of him as like a cult leader. And, maybe even at one time you could have considered me his cult follower, but I don't listen to every episode he does. I do love him. I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, but it's interesting. Big moves like that. This is, it's an interesting time to be alive. This is chess, not checkers. So Like always, I'm going to do a Turner's Crate question. This is a segment that is brought to you by Turner Dairy Farms and the makers of Turner's Premium Tea. I have a crate that every guest I've had on submitted a question to, and I will pick one out and answer it to the best of my abilities. I'll do 3 since it's only since it's a little short of an episode. But all right, here we go. All right, question number 1. If you had to live the rest of your life as an artist, what platform or medium would you choose? That's from Cody Baker. He was episode 12, and that's a great question. If I had to be an artist, I guess if I want to get all deep about it, anything could be considered art, but I would love to be a guitarist, like a Jimmy Page or like a Jimi Hendrix or someone like that. Imagine just like being Jimi Hendrix ripping on a guitar in front of like a crazy crowd of people. I don't know. It's always been crazy to me to like think of that, think of a musician just ripping on music, because some music makes you feel a certain type of way. You know, you feel, electrified whenever you are in the presence of some music. Like whenever I go see Jack White, like he slips into a different zone whenever you're listening to him rip on a guitar. And I feel like that is it's a different type of feeling. All right, question number 2. All right. What is the first concert you have ever attended? All right, John Marenko, episode 37. That's a fitting follow-up question. My first concert I've ever attended, if you want to go by first concert ever, it was Weird Al Yankovic, and that was at the, I believe it was called the Chevy Starlight. That was in Station Square. It was right after all the Star Wars shit came out, after episode 1 came out, and that was a wild show. Weird Al Yankovic is epic. He came out in a fat suit for I'm Fat, which is the cover of Michael Jackson's I'm Bad. But that was my first concert ever. My first like adult concert with no adults was, let's see here. I think it was maybe 9th grade. I went to see Isley's, Reggie and the Full Effect, and A Newfound Glory up at Penn State Barron. My brother went to school up at Penn State Barron, and Newfound Glory was headlining, and I remember it being right whenever The Incredibles came out, because he came out in an Incredibles outfit. I don't remember too much else about it, but yeah, Newfound Glory was probably my first adult concert considered. Adult concert. And question 3, here we go. Is a hot dog a sandwich or taco? Explain why. That's from Justin Criado, episode 15. Wow. What a heavy question. I don't know if I ever thought about it, but is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco? I mean, I guess it would have to be dependent on the bun. I think if the hot dog bun is connected at the hinge, basically, if you will, it would be considered a taco. You eat it as a taco. You don't, like, the opening isn't to the left or the right. Eat it as a taco. It's like a wedge, and a taco is a wedge. It has some sort of bread based, whether it be a tortilla or or like some sort of shell. It's some sort of like bread based, some wheat, flour based thing. I would say a hot dog would be a taco until the hinge splits. So if you have that day old bun and you put a hot dog in it and the hinge splits, then you have to roll with the punches, and you have to rotate the taco 90 degrees to the left or right, and that considers it as a sandwich because the bread is horizontal, and you will have to take in consideration when putting in toppings about whether or not it would be on the side or the top. Because if you think about it, okay, he says explain why in this question. Think of it with me. I would say that if the hinge splits on a hot dog bun, if you're holding a hot dog and it splits, you're not going to hold it the same way because shit is going to fall out of the bottom. You are going to turn it. Now, the question is going to be, does it split after you put on the toppings in the beginning or after or before you put on the toppings? Because that's going to depend on whether your hand gets dirty or not. I hope that explanation was fitting, and I hope that was thorough enough. I want to appreciate everyone that listens as usual. Thank you, as always, for, sharing, you listening, subscribing, rating, and reviewing. I got some dope-ass merch coming in. I got some new designs. I might even have some coffee mugs coming in. I guess it's a secret, but it's not a secret now. But thanks for listening, and I will call you right back.